The other day someone asked me if they should even bother building a niche site or if they should just focus all their time and effort on an authority site. And I had to stop them right there. The thing is, you really have to define what you mean when you say a niche site or an authority site. That's what we're going to talk about in this video today. My name is Doug Cunnington. I'm the founder of Niche Site Project, and I talk about Amazon affiliate marketing, productivity, and project management. By the way, are you new to the channel? If so, take a look around. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Back to niche sites versus authority sites. So for me, my site's called Niche Site Project, so I'm gonna use the term niche site most of the time. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, I think they're the same thing. And this is why it's so important to get into the definition of what you really mean when you use certain terms. Everyone has a different perspective. They have different sources for their information. They have different ideas about what terms mean. It just depends on what their perspective is. So when you get a question, whatever it is, you should definitely make sure you and whoever is asking it, or if you're asking it, that you define the components of the question. Otherwise, you could be talking about two different things. So for me, my perspective on niche sites versus authority sites is, at this point in 2018, it's merely a branding idea. So again, my site's Niche Site Project. I talk about niche sites, but really, when you think about it, at the core, an authority site and a niche site are the same thing. They are an affiliate site of some kind. I usually talk about Amazon affiliate marketing, but other people may sell other affiliate products. It could be a ClickBank info product. It could be, another info product from another company, or it could be through affiliate marketplaces like Share a Sale, something like that. But at its core, an authority site and a niche site are both affiliate sites. The misconception that I think a lot of people have is when I talk about a niche site, they think very small and very thorough, perhaps. Maybe it's 10 pages and it can't earn much money. However, if you just sort of flip it on its head and take a look from my perspective, an authority site is really just a niche site that's grown up. A lot of people in their head, they think an authority site is a site with a lot of pages and a lot of information and that sort of thing. Very long posts and a lot of posts. However, let's take a look at an example that is totally different. So backlinko.com is an SEO authority site. And if we look at the number of posts that Backlinko has, we see there are not that many, right? It's a smaller site. However, almost all the posts are quite authoritative and long, and they have lots of information. And Brian Dean is, one of the biggest influencers as far as SEO goes, and his site has a lot of authority. Most people would agree it's an authority site. On the other side of the coin, we can find many examples. I'm not going to point a specific one out here since it would sort of be in a negative light, but there are many sites that have a lot of posts that maybe they hit a topic pretty well, but it's not very high quality, and it's just sort of a site where they churn through posts that are low quality, and I see a lot of these out there. And just because there's a lot of posts on the site, just because they are long posts, doesn't mean it's an authority site. There's more to it than just that, and that's where my definition of a niche site and an authority site being the same thing, it's just a branding sort of idea. Those are two examples, Backlinko, where it's a site with few posts but a lot of authority, and then there are many sites, if you just start hunting around, you'll find sites that have a ton of content. They're not that high in authority, and they haven't obtained a lot of backlinks. They're just not an influencer in their specific niche. So those are two examples that sort of prove my point here. Additionally, the other way to look at it, when we remember that a niche site can grow up to be an authority site if you put enough time and effort into it, all authority sites start off as smaller sites. So they all start off with, a handful of posts. They don't have many backlinks, and they're just trying to grow. So all of these authority sites do start as niche sites. And why am I emphasizing this so much? It's because if you try to follow an authority site model, right, the branding of an authority site, you may end up biting off more than you can chew, particularly if you're just getting started online. The danger is you will think, I need to create a site with a lot of keywords, a lot of posts. The posts need to be very long, and I need to get a lot of backlinks. Each one of those steps is overwhelming, and if you put that all on yourself, you may run out of steam. You probably will run out of steam because everything gets harder as you move along. And when you are trying to find a bunch of keywords, but you're just learning how to find keywords using a keyword research tool, and you're trying to publish a lot of content, and you're just learning how to hire people to help you write it, it becomes overwhelming, and most people will quit before they hit the level of authority site where they have 100 posts or 150 posts. Other similarities when it comes down to the process, they're very similar. So you have to do keyword research, and you have to do keyword research in the same way where you end up finding buyers' keywords. Eventually you want to sell something. You want it to be a commercial keyword, and a buyer's keyword is something that a searcher will use prior to making a purchase. Those are the ones you want, since it indicates that they're further down the sort of buyer's funnel, or a selling funnel, if you will. The content on an authority site and a niche site is probably going to be pretty similar. You can use, a review format, like the perfect Amazon review format, and recommend products, not recommend other products, and essentially you're trying to help someone make a decision on both type of sites. It doesn't matter if it's authority or if it's a niche site. As far as promotion for each of the sites, you're going to have to get backlinks at some point, probably in a similar way. Most likely you're going to get guest posts. If you're a gray hat SEO, maybe you'll get private blog network links, but that's totally up to you. I do recommend the guest posting route and blog commenting, networking within your niche, and getting white hat backlinks through white hat outreach. Some differences if we're going to operate on the definition of an authority site and a niche site, where an authority site is big with a lot of content and very long content as well, and a lot of backlinks. I kind of highlighted a few of them there. An authority site may have a lot more posts and a lot longer content. However, again, when we look at the Brian Dean example, just because a site is considered an authority site doesn't mean that it has to have a lot of posts. So remember that it could just be very high quality posts, and the site being sort of an influential site within the overall industry or niche or whatever you want to call it. An authority site potentially would have more frequent posting, maybe once a week, twice a week, once a day, twice a day. There's no set amount, but a lot of people may think, hey, I have to post a certain amount of times per week just to be considered an authority site. My argument, of course, is you don't need to do that, and I have what many people would consider an authority site, and I do sprints of work. It's just what I like to do. So maybe I'll publish 200 articles in a few months, and then maybe I don't publish anything for 8 months or 10 months because I'm focusing on promoting that content, a very important part of the puzzle there. So basically, you don't necessarily have to publish all the time. You could publish infrequently. Again, Backlinko is a great example. Brian Dean doesn't publish content that often, but when he does, he promotes it very heavily, and that's one of the reasons why he's considered an authority, aside from being, super knowledgeable and a practitioner in his craft of SEO. What about micro niche sites? Now, this is a term that used to be thrown out a little bit more often, but it's kind of an old idea, micro niche site. And these are sites that typically had very few pages, like 5 to 10 pages. They probably focused on one product, a very narrow set of keywords. This was back in the day when people used to buy these exact match keyword domains. If the keyword that you were targeting was best ballpoint pen for journaling, the domain you may get could be the best ballpoint pen for journaling.com, because you're literally targeting that specific term. And there was a day, if you could believe it, that if you just got the exact match domain, you were very likely to rank for that term. That was a long time ago. That was even before I got into SEO and niche sites in 2013, but there was indeed a time where you could just buy the exact match and then you could rank just based on your domain and keyword stuffing. It was like the Wild West, so I hear. The problem with these micro niche sites, even if they do still work today, and we could see a couple of examples of that. In fact, there's one that I did a niche site teardown review on. I'll link to it in the description, but it was a very narrow niche, and I won't go into too many details now, but it was football snack helmets, right? Super narrow, and it's pretty hard to expand that site with that specific domain name. Could they do it? Maybe, but when you think about these micro niche sites with only a few pages, they can be profitable, they can be an interesting case study, but you run into an issue when you think, hey, this site's doing pretty good, I want to grow it. I want to add more products and I want to add more reviews and add more content. But if you think too short-sighted and you buy a domain name that is, very specific and you're targeting just a couple products, it's really hard to grow. So the important part is to brand your site and find a domain name that you could expand and you could add other products to. Because if you can't add other products, then you're stuck. You've painted yourself into a corner and then you really can't expand anymore. So if you find a really good keyword, it doesn't mean you have to, paint yourself in a corner. Just remember, brand your site in a general way so that you can grow if you want to. You don't have to expand the site if you don't want to, right? But you want to give yourself the option. Additionally, right, to think a little bit longer term, let's say you grow the site to $300 a month and you don't want to keep it anymore, you want to sell it. If you create a site where you have the ability to grow by picking a more general domain name so that you could expand, you'll be able to sell it at potentially a higher price because the site has more potential to grow. Where if you get a domain name that's like super narrow, again, you've painted yourself and the future owner in a corner and you've sort of limited the potential growth. So overall, to tie it in a bow here, a niche site and an authority site, basically the same thing. It's just a niche site many people could consider smaller, but it's really just a branding thing from my perspective. And when you look at what other people are teaching, my niche site is the same as other people's authority sites. My sites have, hundreds of pieces of content. It's very thorough. There's a brandable name behind it, and that's what you should aim for in general. Now the thing is, you don't have to grow your niche site into a huge site, but if you start small and grow into it, it makes it much more doable. The problem, and one of the cons when you think about the authority site model, is you think to yourself, I need to find 100 or 200 or 500 keywords that I can grow into. But with the niche site model, you can get started with like 20 keywords and only use about half of them. I recommend you launch your site with 10 pieces of content, half of it informational, half of it affiliate reviews. And then after you publish 10 pieces of content, go out there, start promoting it, network in your niche, get some guest posts, start getting traffic. It's really important to get started getting traffic, getting a small win, making some sales early on versus, trying to power your way through it by putting your head down, thinking you're going to publish 200 posts in 6 months, and then hopefully in 10 months or 12 months, you can make your first profits. That's crazy if you ask me. And I'm much more, it comes from my project management background where I want to see, agile project management in play with niche sites. So that's why I'm saying, publish 10 pieces of content, start promoting it, start making sales, prove that works, and you'll gain momentum as you do another sprint of work. Whole other story when we put project management and agile project management on top of niche sites, but super interesting to do because you end up with a repeatable process, sort of a blueprint to do this over and over again. And if you can make one sprint of work profitable, then you can do it over and over again. My name's Doug Cunnington. I'm founder of Niche Site Project, and have a look at some of the other videos. If you like it, please subscribe. And if you learned anything, like the video. Would really appreciate it. Thanks.